was that? Never mind that. What was that?
Hi!
Who are you?
BARFF!
Not in here, mister. This is a Mercedes.
Nah, that's my name. BARFF!
BARFF? What are you?
And here we go. BARFF Fantasy Football Podcast. Season 4, Episode 18, the grand finale of the season. I'm Brian the Commish, joined here in the BARFF Digital Podcast Studio in the bunker. Owner Born to Run has made the long trek down to see us. Walt, how are you today?
I'm good, and it's great to be here. I love this podcast, but I hate it because the hate, of course, we got to wait another 8 months before we start again.
I know, sad day.
It is,
sad.
But it's fun to wrap up and acknowledge, all the great competition we had in the league this year.
Oh, it was a great year. It was
absolutely was.
It was a great year. Oop, what happened? I just lost a caller before he even got on there. That was no lineup was calling in. No lineup, please call back because
we want to hear from you.
Yeah, I must have touched something that I didn't realize I was doing. So, we're going to hear from No Lineup Needed. I'm hoping that we hear from the other side of the one game that we have to talk about, the championship. Winner this year is Team Soarin Eagles. Hopefully they had said that they were going to call in to gloat, and I hope that they do that because it is their world right now. They are the winners of the Golden Toilet Seat. Congratulations to Team Soarin Eagles.
Absolutely, to get to have that honor for the next year. The Golden Toilet Seat will make its way to Colorado this year.
Yeah.
Is that a first?
I don't believe that we have had the Golden Toilet Seat out of state.
So what service are we going to use to ensure that it makes it to Denver, Colorado?
I don't. I'm going to leave that to them. They're going to have to figure that out. It's their choice. I'll even bring it out. We'll see what
it's like the Stanley Cup. I don't know if we should allow. Can you imagine if that went missing? That would be horrible.
No. But it is, as we see in the graphic, it is Soarin
Eagles
Eagle world,
time.
and we are just living in it. All right, so no lineup. Go ahead and call in, please. Hope to hear from the new BARFF Fantasy Football champions. And let's see.
Someone said they tried as well.
Do a double check on the...
Sotie was trying to call as well.
Let me see what's happening with this phone. There we go.
There we go.
All right, so the owner of No Lineup is on the line. Christian, can you hear us?
I can. Hello.
Hey,
Hi.
Christian.
All right, very good. That must have been some sort of phone glitch that I had. So if Sotie wants to call in, please do. And Christian, we're talking about the one game, the only game that counts, the big game of the season, and that is the game between you and Soarin Eagles this week. I am going to turn this over to Walt to discuss the beginning part of the game. First, I want to introduce the owner of Sotie Pantloads, also on the line. Kyle is here. Kyle, how are you today?
I'm doing well, Commish, BTR.
Yeah.
We're happy to have this end of the season roundtable.
All right.
Thank you for joining us. Yeah, this is great.
Yeah, we've got Sotie Pantloads and No Lineup Needed on the line. And Walt, we're going to start to talk about this championship game. Hopefully the champs will weigh in, but I believe that these owners in two ways called the shots this week, but tell me about your impressions of the championship game for 2023.
Yeah, it was a very good championship, not a blowout. I think there were certain parts from Thursday night all the way to Sunday is where people thought they were going to win and thought they then didn't feel great about their chances. It was one of those ebb and flow type of games. When I looked at it, Christian had some really tough choices to make. And, obviously I want to hear how he feels, how he got to Pat Mahomes over Justin Fields, because that definitely could have been a difference maker. And for me, we've seen this a lot this year. Defenses, which are normally nobody cares about, you draft your defense last round, next to last round. Once again, a defense played I think a pretty significant outcome. There was a 17-0 differential.
17-point swing, Christian. Tell me how that affected this game this week. Was that the deciding factor in your estimation?
Yeah, and only for one reason. Well, I can go into the other decisions, but if you look at my lineup in the morning, I had the Jacksonville defense in, and Jacksonville ended up scoring 19 points.
Ooh.
So, completely different game if I keep them, but I went with, the defense that had looked, unstoppable the last couple weeks. Because I thought those points might be needed, and it was a bit riskier. So, and then it ended up being a 0. So, I definitely think it made the difference. I think my lineup outside the defense was like pretty locked in from the early parts of the week. So yeah, I definitely feel that defense won this game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a big-
I was gonna say, yeah, definitely, and I don't blame you, Christian. On another league, I picked them up and streamed them as well. Vegas had been scoring a lot, so you won't get any criticism from me for streaming them and putting them in there with the matchup they had. So yeah,
I agree. And joining us
It was,
live.
I think.
Oh, go ahead, Christian.
Oh, I was just gonna say Carolina had looked better. That's why I didn't play Jacksonville. Was slowly that Carolina had looked okay, and Jacksonville, if you look like the weeks beforehand, had gotten like 0 or negative points against okay offenses. So I'm like, it's a great matchup, but this team's looked terrible, and they had a backup quarterback that was probably gonna play. So I'm like, there's like I really couldn't see the attractiveness of that defense as much as it was a good matchup. Obviously, that bit me in the ass, but yeah, so that's like the only reason I really feel bad about the loss is that I had a winning lineup.
Oh yeah,
fun. But other than that, the other things played out how they did.
Yeah, I agree. Joining us on the line, the other half of this equation, and Jordan, I don't know if you've got us up on the screen, but our background graphic for at least the first portion of the show is a tribute to your victory this year. How are you today, and how does it feel knowing that the golden toilet seat's coming your way?
I love the graphic. I'm feeling under the weather this morning, but I'm just riding the high of that victory. And there's nothing better. There's nothing better.
He's hungover, I bet.
That might be the truth.
Yeah, it's my understanding that a little victory skiing was going on yesterday.
Hey,
and,
it's well deserved. So your team performed when you needed them, so you deserve it.
Yeah, I agree. Jordan, we talked about the defensive performance possibly being the swing in this game, the 17-point swing in defenses. Do you agree? Was that the key to victory in the game?
It was definitely a big part of the game. I don't know if I would say it was a key to victory. It wasn't the key to victory. I had the Bills D stashed for a while for this week, and it worked out. And it was something that I thought would work out, and it did. So I got lucky that it worked out poorly on Christian's end, but I think the success on my part was pre-planned and something I was expecting.
Yeah. I stashed Leonard Fournette about 6 weeks ago. You can see how that worked out for me. Damn Buffalo.
Well, and Jordan, to me, it was a double-edged sword because not only you plugged in Jonathan Taylor against Vegas, who was effective. So that was another one I thought. Like, he hadn't done much. You kind of traded for him just to kind of, I think, for this situation. So that was, I thought, a pretty significant, I guess, point total as well, that he was able to get 16 against the Vegas defense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Taylor worked out to be great. He's consistent. He's definitely a big first quarter player. Somebody I don't think I want to draft next year, but it definitely worked out for me this year.
Nice.
I think one of the problems too is that when you watch Vegas's other games, or my hedge with Vegas too is that if Vegas does poorly, Michael Pittman, who I have, would most likely do well because he's been the main route of the offense. Obviously, he was injured previously, but they got up so quick with the running game and defensive scores. It was just they didn't need to throw the ball. So it's just a bunch of game script stuff that I think did not work out in my favor. That ended up, and obviously had Jordan having Jonathan Taylor kind of was double edged on that case too. Of I lost on both sides of my coin, and then he won because of it. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great call, Christian, because I didn't even think of that too.
Yeah,
it impacted Pittman as well,
right?
Because of that, them getting up early like that. So yeah. But so my other thing too for you, Christian, is when I saw 18 total Mahomes and Kelsey, I mean that's a killer. You can't have that from
on that. I detailed last episode why I thought I needed to play these guys. Cincinnati has been bad against quarterbacks and very bad against tight ends, second worst in the league, and yet they can't get anything done. They can't score touchdowns. Easily the two most disappointing players I think, drafted early this year. Outside like Cooper Kupp or Justin Jefferson to an extent. So yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, I obviously could have won with them in, which makes me feel less bad. Like, if they had been the sole reason I lost, that would have made me a little more pissed about it. But it's like, I think the matchup was too good, and Justin Fields has obviously sort of been a stud the last couple weeks, and I think he will be a fantasy stud going forward if Chicago decides to stay with him. But I just couldn't pass up such a juicy matchup for two guys. Really, I don't know if anyone, if they were in my position, would have done it differently. So I don't really feel bad about. I feel bad they didn't get enough points for me to win, but not bad about the decision I made in that stuff.
Yeah, I would have did probably the same thing. Yeah. I mean, I watched the game. I mean, they had a million chances in the red zone. I mean, they were there. The opportunities were there, and they just didn't cash in on any of them.
Story of the season.
Yeah, exactly.
Players.
Yep.
So that's one example of what I was talking about before of both of these teams calling their shots to an extent. Christian was in the studio last week, and he has made no secret of the fact that Mahomes and Kelsey are not giving him what he expected, and that might have impacted this game, and it did.
Yep.
The other part of calling their shot, and Christian actually brought this up off air last week. I hadn't noticed it, or I had forgotten about it, but Jordan preseason posts on the league message board and ESPN Fantasy, and I'm going to screw up the quote, and I don't want to refer to the screen because I'm going to screw up the graphics, but something to the extent of 2023 is the year for Soarin Eagles. And this is preseason. Jordan, talk about some sort of forward-thinking, some psychic situation that you had, or was that just confidence that you could call this shot and see it through in 2023?
I mean, shot was called. It's all confidence. I believe it in my level of research and my dedication. And it's been a few years that I feel like I've been at this high level of I guess, dedication to my fantasy craft. So it was going to work out for me eventually. I had a good feeling about this year, good feeling going into the draft, and it all worked out. It was kind of a bumpy road. I won't lie. There were some times where I didn't believe in myself. There were some times where, I make that Josh Allen trade and I see him score 40 points 2 weeks later, and I go, oh man, I just threw away my season. But it worked out, and I went with my gut on a lot of things, and I think it's going to be a new era for the Eagles.
Wow.
I like it.
That's a bold claim there.
I like it a lot. Now, Kyle, you're on the line as I believe you came in overall third, and I want to talk about how that works later on in the show. What did you think about this game as a spectator? Did it go the way that you thought it was going to go?
Yeah, first with Soarin Eagles' prediction for 2023, I would equate it to also, me, as Soarin Eagles can relate to this. I called Rose Namajunas back in 2017 beating Ioana and Jacek, and that's just because I like to throw out hot takes on everything and eventually get one right. So yeah. I would say it's very similar. Soarin Eagles was getting randomly one of his hot takes right. So just like to say that. But going back to the matchup, I think honestly, CeeDee Lamb, when he got 40 points, I think I even texted Soarin. I was matchup's over before it started. But then Amon-Ra got that late TD, and I was like, oh, wait, okay. Difference is not bad. So it was
so horrified on that last drive. Every single ball was going to Amon rushing.
Yeah, it was.
Knew the TD was coming, but I just couldn't. I had to sit there and accept it.
Yep.
And so, yeah, that was a tough one.
Yeah, and then you had CD fumble one out through the end zone too.
Right? I would have won. I would have won if that actually scored. That's the tough part about it.
Yeah.
But I mean, the guy for getting 40 points instead of 49.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
That's brutal. I think pretty much the whole league was watching the Detroit and Amon-Ra, and I came out of that game thinking, all right, CD blew up, but Amon-Ra kind of evened that out a little, kind of brought it back to reality a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. But again, you get 40 points on night one, you're feeling pretty good. Like even as Kyle said, I was worried for the Eagles.
Yeah,
it's still a lot of points to spot.
It is. I mean, we've talked on the podcast before about that guy gets 35 points, you win the game,
right?
And in this case, in the championship game, this is the second year in a row that no lineup has had pain in the championship game. Got that huge game that you want, and then It just wasn't enough.
Yeah, go ahead, Christian.
Oh, I was just saying another wrinkle to this is last year I lost by 1 point, obviously, to Najee Harris, but also because I didn't start Tyler Algier. This year, Tyler Algier has one play in this game, and it goes for 70 yards to the house. I'm like, again, like, who the hell would have thought this dude would have gave me the dagger twice in a row? Dude, he barely plays football, and he decides, okay, one day let's show up. Because if Bijan was on that play, he would have scored too. So
you got to keep Tyler Algier off your lineup, Christian. Why not just stop putting him on your roster?
Like, who knows I'll do.
That is painful.
It is.
That is painful. So we have the 2023 championship in the books. Soarin' Eagles is soaring back in it. And I would be remiss. They are not only the 2023 BARFF champions, they are now a member of the 3-time BARFF champion club. Congratulations, Jordan.
That's pretty good.
Two-time.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Sotie says two-time.
Wait, there's...
Oh, no, I trust Sotie.
Oh.
He's big on counting championship.
I thought you were already a 2-time champion.
Oh, no.
No, I got a 2009, I think.
That was it.
And then
That was
2023.
Holy shit!
He had the Cubs Red Sox curse there. He was in contention.
Been 14 years coming.
Like I said, he was skating Pee Wee hockey when he won his champion, or maybe even squirts. Maybe I don't know. I got to do
the Brooklyn Dodgers were still in the league back then.
Brain wasn't fully formed.
Yeah,
but he still beat me. Well, my apologies. I'm not up on my BARFF history the way I should be. That's embarrassing. But two-time champion. That's also something to be very proud of.
Oh, no, it is. But I will say, if you want to know championships, just ask Sotie Pantloads.
All right, they know.
Like off the top of his head. He keeps track. And
I love it.
And I think he's actually very happy that I don't know about Christian, but I know he didn't want Tyler to win his first. So, Kyle, I can't remember who you were pulling for because of the championship numbers. Were you looking for no lineup originally?
I was wearing my no lineup jersey. I mean, I ranked them. I said no lineup, then Soarin', and then worst team ever. So okay. Soarin', you're still middle of the pack. I'm still, for you. But it is tough that now he has the same amount of championships as BTR, me, and the Beans. So he's in that elite club. We're happy to have you. We'll keep the door open. But
and the Knuckleheads.
And the Knuckleheads. Sorry, it's been a while.
I gotta have something.
I don't think Jordan was born when the Knuckleheads won their last championship.
Yeah.
I'm not sure when that was.
They were seniors.
When was it?
They were seniors in high school, I believe.
Seniors?
Yeah. It wasn't that long ago.
Oh, it wasn't that long ago then. Okay.
I won't have this. They might not have been seniors. I'm just trying. I don't even remember. It was a long time ago. Maybe my brain wasn't fully formed. What's going on? All right, so 2023 BARFF Championship is in the books, and that what an amazing season for these two teams. Both teams on a journey, ups and downs. Many teams had a lot going on, but does that bring us now to an evaluation of the season?
I think so, and I hope these guys can stay on because I always like to be challenged when I'm dishing out. I guess feedback on how people did during the season. Yeah. Of course, all three of them have a grade.
We are going to switch now to the classroom, and Walt is going to be giving out the grades, and I'm going to furiously be trying to get some graphics up. And so, without further ado, the 2023 final grades from Born to Run.
Yes, and I would like to debate, though, because I do like how ESPN recalculates the standings based on the consolation. Somehow, I finished like in 8th place or 7th, which I'm all for keeping that instead of being in last place.
We can go back to the studio for 1 second.
Yeah,
because I've got to.
I think I love it. I like it. So, I'm all for it.
We've got some brains. No, now I'm playing the intro again. Hold on, people. Let me.
What was that?
Yeah, that caught my eye as I was doing my evaluation.
Let's get this up. Hi. Everyone is watching the intro one more time. That's got to stop.
Not in here, mister. This is a Mercedes.
Stop.
Well, I'll put this out to the guys on. If you go by this, the Knuckleheads would end up being in the basement.
Yeah, so That's what I want to talk about. We're back. Sorry about that little intro thing. So there's a lot of big brains on the line here, and I'll open the chat. I am again, and when I look back in the ESPN standings, it's gonna throw this in my face again. I am in 10th place again.
Yes.
ESPN says I'm last. I had 6 wins and I won 2 consolation bracket games. Someone explain to me how I am in last place again.
It's a great question.
It's an open question for the room.
The programming's just so used to it just defaulted to factory settings.
Wow.
That is not the answer I was looking for.
That I got to tell you, that's the most reasonable explanation I've heard.
Yeah, no one has anything.
It doesn't make sense.
Inexplicable.
But I'm going to my grave saying I've never finished last in BARFF.
It's true. You haven't.
Right. That's the way I look at it.
All right, we're going back to the classroom. I can't handle this. I don't understand how it's possible. Back to the classroom.
All right. Well, I will say, although ESPN says I'm not last, I'm going to start with me first because there's no question this was my least successful season. So I kind of broke down the grades into 4 categories. I looked at the record. You got to look at that. As Bill Parcells saying, you are what your record says you are, that kind of thing. Then I look how many moves. Then I look how many points, because sometimes you'll have like the rifle at one point, teams with high points, but their record doesn't work out that way. So I think total points is important. And then, of course, I have some intangibles. And then last but not least, based on that, there's a final grade. So quickly going across BTR, my record, it is what it is, right? That's a D. That's a D all day long. Moves, I was right there, middle of the pack. But maybe I should have made more, which is interesting to me because my gut feeling was I did make a lot of moves. So B- there. My point total, if I'm not mistaken, was last. I gave myself a C- because it wasn't horrendous from people ahead of me in the standings. Here's where I'm being nice to myself, intangibles. And the reason I gave myself a B+, which I'm sure might create some debate, but I'll say this. Going in the draft, I knew the chance I was taking. I swung for the fences. I went with Bijan, even though my mind was saying that don't do that, go conservative, go Jamar Chase or whoever else I had a chance to get. So I took some chances. And then I also feel by making some trades with Tyler and then with Christian and then Jordan, some of the big powerhouses, I took some chances there as well. So intangible, I'd say, hey, the other thing I'll say on that too is if you look at points against, a second highest points against. And that tells you.
I know that pain.
Yeah, luck is not good. So B+, final though, C. And that's the lowest grade of any team within BARFF.
A self-imposed C. That you can't question the integrity there. Gentlemen that are on the line, how do we see this C for Born to Run? Agree or disagree?
I'll hop in since I have relation to Born to Run. I feel like he just kind of sounded like Donald Trump giving himself the grade going A++++. The trades, he put that as a benefit. He was kind of like the team that was fire sailing, just getting rid of everybody, and it benefited a lot of the top teams. So I think Born to Run deserves more in the D range.
Oh, wow. Very harsh.
Christian, what do you think about this C?
I don't. My one comment on, I don't want to just the C in general, but I feel like the grading scale, is used to be like a bell curve. So if everyone's above C, I feel like there are some people, I won't say Born to Run, that are getting the benefits, or more so, unless it's all scaled differently. But I don't know. I do kind of agree with Kyle on the trades. I think though you did get rid of Bijan, who wasn't working out in some other trades, you did not get the best return for those, or it didn't happen to work out in your favor. But so that would be like my one comment on that.
All right, Champ. What do you think about this C for Born to Run?
I kind of agree with what Sotie and No Lineup are saying. I like C can't be the new F. And I saw he's been ragged on for some moves in the past. Your grade on the moves is all about how it worked out, not about taking the chance.
Okay,
so
that's a fair assessment.
That's my take.
But I will say this: I did go to schools in Chicopee. Everything was graded on kind of a scale. So, I think Christian actually hit the nail on the head. Is that, if you're in BARFF, just the point of being in here and competing, I find it, if you're truly an F, you're going to get smoked year after year. So I will say that. It does create, I think, the basement is, like a C minus. So I'll give C minus. I'm not conceding a D. And you guys are pretty.
We'll take it. That's fair.
You're pretty dumb too, because I haven't gotten to you guys yet. No, now you told me that, I might change. But no, okay. So rifle.
Who's next?
I looked at the rifle. The record, unfortunately, somehow 5-9. It's only 2 wins more than me.
Yep.
So he gets a C plus because I thought his team was good. Rifle once again is one of the owners that I still think sticks. Rides his team, doesn't do a lot of moves.
Yep.
Very low in the move column. C plus.
I feel like they did do a trade this year, which is a little.
Which was
unusual.
something, right? Yeah. And this shocked me. The total points for not that great. It was pretty low.
Yeah.
I mean, it was in the bottom half. C on points for. I do think it's the intangibles, the rifle. Good draft. I thought. I thought it was a good team.
I mean, Derrick Henry is a large man, and he dragged this team down.
Yeah. So intangibles, a game of B, and overall, you look at all those grades across. It's a C plus for the rifle.
C plus for the rifle. What do we think about that, Champ? I'll start with you. C plus for the rifle.
Sorry, getting used to being called champ.
He's not. I was just gonna say he's not used to being called champ. That's good.
I think C plus is fair. I think the rifle had sort of a tragic year. I think they were like an all-star quarterback or like a really good defense away from having a good season. I feel like probably if we went back and looked at the point differential for their losses, it would be pretty narrow. And then there's guys like Debo who, if he was able to be a playoff team, a guy like that coming in late would have really carried him through and been like a huge piece. So tragic year. I think C plus is fair, but I think he was a couple moves away from greatness.
All right, Christian, you played in the championship game. You look at this rifle team. We felt that they had some talent on the roster. Do you think a C plus for the season's fair?
Yeah, and I guess like the one area, like I know he made a move, which is uncommon, or I think it's becoming more common in our league of seeing trades.
Yeah.
But I think that he had some talent or an overabundance of talent in some positions that he could have used to make some trades. I know I had reached out to him multiple times for trades. So I think if he was a little more active there, he could maybe snuck into the playoffs.
I agree.
So like I think that's one thing. I don't think that he's like the only one. I think there's a couple teams on here that had some talent that probably should have been traded out for better players. But I think that would have been potentially a game changer here.
Yeah, Kyle. This team was kind of towards the end of the season starting to knock on the door. Along with myself, looking for that spot that you ended up with. Did the rifle have a C plus performance?
Yeah, I'd say C plus is fair. I feel like it was like a weird season though. Like when he got everyone healthy, everyone was like, "Oh, it's a really scary team." And then all the guys that got healthy just kind of like didn't do anything. Like Eckler wasn't very good.
Yep.
So they never really like delivered on what they thought that we could what we thought they could do. So I'd say C plus is overall fair.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, that's
the
not
rifle
bad.
season in a nutshell.
Well, here's one. Now we talk about the commish, the knuckleheads.
Okay.
Obviously, 6 wins. That puts you in the B range. Didn't make the playoffs, which I look as probably the B grade. So B minus on the record. The commish was pretty active, but not as active as some other teams. So a little tight on that grade. C plus. Again, shocking to me when I go back and look at points for. The commish had 3 less points than the rifle, and on the bottom third in points for.
Yeah.
Yep. But intangibles, I feel, you definitely were there. You were trying to bid. You made some moves on blocking and not letting people just get people for the sake of letting them have it. So.
Oh yeah, I made a lot of dick moves this year.
Yeah. And to me, you make dick moves, you're going to be rewarded. So a nice B for the commish on intangibles, and overall a B minus grade.
B minus for the knuckleheads. Jordan, is this too gracious?
Man, I want to be nice, but I do think this is too gracious.
Wow. They're going after the host of the show.
That's all right. I want honesty.
Look, the grades are here so we can judge like actual technique, and strategy. But when the results don't come, that's it's tough. That's kind of what it's all about. So I think B- is a little too gracious.
Love my team, by the way. Christian, what do you think? B- for the commission.
I think maybe a little high, maybe a C+. I think your trade actually is good. I think your trade with me, I mean, I know I pushed that one, but I think I definitely did a bit of overpaying for Joe Mixon and Tank Dell. But I think you made choices, but I think there's a lot of tragic seasons this year. Like, you have to think about, until the end, how bunched our teams were. Like, I think everyone was in playoff contention like 3 weeks before the playoffs. So it's hard to like really nail any team for being like terrible all year. I just think you had some unlucky breaks, and you obviously played spoiler to a bunch of top teams. Well, I have to appreciate you because I got first place in the regular season. So.
I did go 3-1 as a spoiler. Once I declared myself spoiler, I went 3-1.
So to me, that's B- all day long. You did what the league needed you to do.
I was really trying to. That really just gave me false hope, is what it did. That's all right. Kyle, B- for Knuckleheads.
I'll follow the other two. I would say the C+ is probably a little bit more accurate. I'd say it's like a kind of a similar season to the Rifle, like different, different negatives for each team that was ailing them. But I'd say like you had a strong push at the end, so I think overall C+ would be fair.
All right. Well, the screen says B-, so it's B-.
B-. It'd be nice to see one of these three have a different opinion than the.
That's okay.
They're sharing one brain over there.
They're doing fine.
Right.
They're doing fine. We love the honesty here in the studio.
All right, Huey. Huey's a tough one, right? Record again. Record is what it is. That's a C+. Moves though, holy cow! As usual, Huey's off the charts when it comes to moves. But I say that. Not really, but he was active. So on his, because of that, I gave him a B+ for the moves. Points, not great. So there's a C there. Huey's fights to the end. I'm always going to give him a decent grade for intangibles. He never quits. He's always trying to do something all the way to the bitter end.
Yeah. So
I gave Huey a B. And I think, if I'm giving the Knuckleheads a B-, Huey's got to fall to the C+ on that.
C+ for Huey Lewis and the News. Let's start with Champs. What do you think about this C+?
Oh, see, for Huey, I would almost push him into the B's. Huey's like, I would describe Huey as like a team that uses a wildcat or like a submarine pitcher in baseball, or a guy who's a really good knuckleball, because sometimes it just doesn't work. But sometimes you're like, man, if what his vision is looking like, if that works out for him.
I gotta stop. Wait a minute. We need to stop right now. You slandered BTR on saying it's results, not who you pick, and now you're going easy on one of your,
No, I'm trying to start a dialogue about this. But, to have such an out there strategy and draft like 6 running backs, and like, look, didn't Huey get like 160 points like the week before the championship? If he had squeaked his way into playoffs, that's a team going to the finals, I think.
You realize he had the second lowest points for.
It's crazy. I know. I'm not looking at the stats right now.
I could tell.
It's weird to me because when I look at that team, it scares me. But
I'm dismissing everything the Soarin Eagle says from this point on.
And
not nearly as scary as that Knuckleheads team.
on the combined brain topic, on the 3 people on the line here, that might just be the winning mentality.
Oh,
wow. Boy, a guy gets a second championship, and look at him. He's all different now.
I never thought I'd hear no matter mentality in the same sentence. Oh, that's just great for me. But I will say on this, and I think Walt brings up a good point, is I think this year, and my team's included in this, name value of players has meant next to nothing this year. I think you had really star players and even good teams not putting up points even when they're winning. And I think Huey's team is falling to that. I'm sure Breece Hall got really hot at the end of the year when they were literally just doing checkdowns every play. But he had name value players, and it didn't work out. I think that's like the real name of the game. If you look at like Ty's team, Ty don't love giving him praise, but he had name value players that became injured and then had no name players essentially win him and get him to the semifinals. So I think there's a lot less value in my mind put on named players, at least even at all positions. You had running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, QBs, all not living up to where they were drafted and how good they are. So that's just, I think, what hit Huey Lewis this year is he had an interesting strategy, but like the players he could rely on were just not reliable.
All right, Kyle, agree?
Yeah, I'll show that we're not just a hive mind calling in here. I'd say that he kind of falls into the knuckleheads rifle C+ range. Obviously, abstract draft strategy from Huey, but didn't really work out. And obviously, the Soarin Eagles are going to be a little easy on him because he gave him Jonathan Taylor, which helped him get a championship. But I don't know. I look at Huey's lineup, and I do disagree with Soarin. Like, I don't know. It's not really that scary. Like Deontay. Like, I don't know. Deontay kind of sucks. So I'd say C+. He did well with what he had. So
I'll agree with that.
All right.
Now we get to one of the owners on the line. Finally. So 7-7. I mean, I stated before. You're average. That gives you a B. Nothing wrong with that. Moves, as usual. Sotie's always active, right there in the middle of the pack. I felt, although I could have given a B, I gave him the benefit of the doubt because I liked some of the moves he made. A B+ for that. Points though, like this was shocking to me. I looked at points for Sotie right there, like up in the top third of points.
Yep.
So Sotie gets a high A- for the point total. Now intangibles, the Pantloads are a proud organization. They want to get to that third championship, at all cost. So intangibles, I got to give Sotie a lot of credit. The one knock, I do think there were some, deficiencies in the team that maybe took him a little long to address, so I knocked him down a little for that. But B+ on that. So overall, I think you had an average team, had an average season, made the playoffs, got knocked out. It's a B. It's a B.
It's a B.
It's a B.
It's a B. Champ, a B for Sotie Pantloads.
I agree with the B. I think Sotie's team, and I think we'll get into this the more we talk about kind of these teams near the top of the standings. And you kind of talked about it, maybe made moves a little bit too late, but this league it just keeps getting more and more competitive. And if you're not on top of things, like you might have opportunities that you missed by a week, especially with the waiver wire and everything like that. So I think Sotie was right there. I think maybe just like a week behind on a move or two. But other than that, good management, decent draft. I agree with B.
All right, Christian, a B for Sotie Pantloads.
Yeah, I agree with the grade. I think he had some absolute killer pickups. Drafting Lamar Jackson and Rachaad White, even though Lamar Jackson was a bit streaky. Rashee Rice looks amazing as a pickup. But, I think if you just look at his line, obviously he had to deal with the injury to T.J. Hawkinson, which may have cut his season short there. But I just think that when you look at his team compared to others, it just isn't as scary. You look at the top end ceiling. He made the playoffs. He pushed for it, but it just wasn't there. So yeah, I do give him credit though for beating Coos by 1 point. That is an A+ in my book. I'll be grateful for
that. So Kyle, tell me, what do you think about this this B for your season?
Yeah, I think it's probably fair. I was probably the most 500 team of all time. I'd win a week, lose a week, win a week, lose a week. Even in the playoffs, I lost to JJ, but if I made it to the final, which I didn't, I would have won the final. So hang the banner. But I would say on the moves, I wouldn't say I was late on the moves. I just didn't really have the pieces to make moves. I didn't have much depth. Like, I kind of need to keep the guys that were scoring. Like, really, the only consistent guys were well, not even Jamar Chase. Like, Hawkinson, I guess, was pretty consistent, and Rashad White was consistent. But yeah, I would say B is probably fair. Like, for a 700 team, like I said, like, I couldn't really get anything going at any point. I'd win and lose week to week. So yeah, I'd say B is pretty accurate.
Yeah, that's fair, because I looked at a couple of times, C, to propose you with a trade, and that was the problem. You didn't have enough depth to make a trade with. So yeah, so that's fair. All right, excellent. Well, that was good.
Pantloads,
He actually agreed with me. That's pretty good. I'm feeling pretty good right now. The Moppers,
Moppers.
tough luck for the Moppers. A lot of injuries, but based on the record, he gets a solid B+ on that. I gave on moves. I gave the Moppers an A-, dealing with all those injuries. He was like the little Dutch boy trying to plug holes in the dike that was leaking. Every week it seemed like because of an injury he had a leak somewhere else. And initially his depth was fantastic. He was able to plug just by having the depth on his bench. So he did a good job overall there. But points, though, interesting enough, more on the lower end of points. 1647, kind of in the middle of the pack there. And for a team with 8-6, normally I would say, well, I'll give him a B there. No, I knocked him down. C+. With that record, that points for, not impressed. Intangibles, I'm going to dismiss the fraud claim against Tom. Tom was fighting. I mean, I talked to him one night when he was trying to figure out, what quarterback to start. I thought he was going to have a nervous breakdown. That's how important this was to him. Just for that alone, he wants to win that first championship.
Yeah.
So I gave him a B+ in that. And, to me, I got to look at Sotie's a B. I thought the Moppers had a better season, overall better team. The Moppers get a B+ out of me.
B+.
I finished third. I finished third place. Moppers did not, so.
Well, then I should be a C, because technically I didn't finish in last. So there you go. You guys keep proving my point on why I gave myself a C.
Champ, what do you think? B+ for Whopper Moppers.
Oh, you guys know I have a lot to say about the Whopper Moppers.
Of course you do.
And I feel bad. I've been talking to Tom. When I made those comments, like 5-6 weeks ago about how Tom desperately needs to make a move, he knew that. He was trying. He still will talk about how he really wishes he couldn't make something happen those weeks where he needed to. So I'll give him credit for trying, but he didn't execute on it. I think the Whopper Moppers this year is a case study for what can go wrong after a great draft.
Yeah.
This sort of Madison just stuck around too long on that roster. I think after the first couple weeks, when you realized that he wasn't anything special and he wasn't going to be consistent, that needed to be plugged in, and it just didn't happen until we got towards trade deadline, and then it just never happened. So I would go lower than B+. I would go more B- range for Whopper Moppers, just because I think they had a really good draft and then sort of let it all fall apart.
All right, Christian, what do you think? B+ for Whopper Moppers.
So I will stay to the B+ range, and the only reason is I talked about name value. But I think that he had never been more betrayed by players that played below their skill level. ETN, well, first of all, first half of the season, his team is
Hold on, we lost you, Christian.
Kirk Cousins, whoever you want. Literally 4 near top of their position players. The second half, he has no quarterback. ETN looks like a different person. Stephon Diggs doesn't put up more than 5 points a game.
Yeah.
A.J. Brown still looking good, and Brandon Ayuk also looking good. But it's like a tale of two halves. I think he did super well in the first half, and then just absolutely fell off. So I can't really give him for having his team just give out, because I think he did plug the hole for the playoffs well. I think Zeke Elliott, great pickup. But I have the team in that B-ish range, because I think his team beginning of the season had much more potential than a lot of the teams that were in the playoffs, and it just sort of fizzled without, to me at least, I didn't talk to Tom, but it seemed like it fizzled out without much. I didn't hear much from him in trades, so it seemed like it fizzled out.
Yeah, we didn't hear from Whopper Moppers this season.
No, not as much. I agree.
It's hard.
He might have been at the Warren Tavern a lot, and he wasn't able to call in.
Kyle, what do you think about Whopper Mopper season? B plus justified or too high, too low?
I would say that Tom probably is deserving as a B2. I'd say obviously another thing, kind of similar seasons for us. Obviously he had a better record than me, but I do agree with the not for lack of trying. He probably should have done at least something. Diggs was obviously kind of falling off there, and he kept him on the roster. Like JJ saying, one of those players that he might have kept on there a little too long. I know he was getting calls on him. I guess you can't really fault Tom for not forcing a move, but I do think he had to do at least something. So I think B's fair for the Whoppers.
All right.
Yeah, all those comments I think are fair. Sure. I think he was definitely that B plus. So the toughest person I had to grade, because there's a lot going on with this team. The Beans.
Boston Beans.
Yep.
Boston Beans have weighed in on the chat, by the way.
Oh, I can't wait.
I was a little bit late on seeing that, but they say that their only beef with the Soarin Eagles is they should have kept Tua. And now it's time for judgment.
Oh, well, I should have taken that into account, actually. So the record speaks for itself, 9-5. Just record of all the person, the champ, and the person in the championship game. So, of course, A- on record. Moves, though, very little disappointing. I mean, towards, middle of the pack, I guess. Beans usually way more active than that. So comes in at a B on the moves. Now, points, I thought was very interesting when you look at the Boston Beans. Let me get here. So points for, really good points for. But the points against, man, I wish I had that least amount of points against. 1630, second lowest in the league.
Yeah.
That's a nice differential to have. So, that tells me, you never can discount. It's good to be lucky with matchups sometimes. And so because of that, although the points were good, that being lucky with the differential, I knocked them down to a B on the points. And the intangibles. We missed Tony calling in. He did join the chat, but, not as usually as active as we normally like to see him. Trades, I don't know. Maybe you guys can weigh in. Usually that guy contacts me at least 5 times a season to see if I'm interested in a trade. Not a lot of chatter. But again, he did the right things. He's got a good team. I give him a B there. And I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to give him a B plus. But I could have went to a B, honestly.
A B plus overall score for the Boston Beans. Champ, what do you think?
I would love to give an F to the Beans just for attitude alone this year. It was obnoxious. For a team that has, how many teams have Hurts and McCaffrey and didn't win their league this year? Come on. And just saying the team sucks. And I did hear from him a little bit on trades. I'd say he was around middle of the pack for trade chatter. But boy, to have those and to have the resurgence of Mike Evans too, and to still not be able to just put it all together and relying on the points against being so low, I don't know. I don't know. I'll being realistic. I'll give him a C plus.
C plus
wow,
instead of a B plus.
You are harsh,
Christian. Boston Beans has got a B plus up on the board. What do you think?
I definitely leaning towards the Soarin Eagles' opinion here. It's tough. I saw a stat, and I don't know if it was for ESPN, but in over 60% of championships, athletes in it. How does he it's tough to see this team. I think but the moment you go past Christian McCaffrey and Evans, it falls off. Bloom.
Oh, we're losing.
You're getting choppy, Christian. If you're moving around, stay still.
Okay, so I guess he had too much depth at one position. But it's that Nick Chubb injury really, really did him dirty. So, and I didn't hear. I don't think I heard from him once for trade chatter. And obviously, I already said my shtick about people complaining. So I do have to downgrade him on that point as well. So I'm thinking maybe a B minus in my mind.
Kyle, what do you think about this Boston Beans evaluation? We're getting going up and down here. He's got a B plus on the board. What do you think?
Oh, I'd say the Beans are probably the toughest grade to pass out this year.
I agree.
Is attitude considered an intangible?
Yes, I think it is, and
Okay.
I cut
So-
him some slack on it, and you guys are, I guess, a little harsher on it.
No, I will say, like, he had a good roster. If he beat, like, say he beat me in that playoff matchup, this grade probably would go differently because he had a lot of like things go his way this year, a lot of 1-point victories. But you kind of offset that because the way he lost in the playoffs. So you kind of have to look past the luck because the way he lost was very unlucky. Overall, that attitude, so that knocks his grade a little bit. Doing the my team stinks thing, that's kind of a tie move. But I think solid roster construction, like he took the chance on McCaffrey when no one else really wanted to.
Yeah.
I'll give Beans I'll give him a B plus just because like he probably had a better season than me and Tom. But like the attitude knocks him down from that A range because he was like one of the better teams. So yeah, I'll give B plus for the Beans.
B plus for the Beans. Listen, I love everybody, but we're going to court. Hold on. Here we go. All right. So we're going to go to court for a minute because I want to talk about the Boston Beans and these grades already. Commish has his gavel. All right. So listen, Boston Beans is getting, up and down, but there's a lot of appreciation for what they did this year. And I want to talk about what they did this year. What they did this year was squeak out a bunch of victories while some of us could not get those squeakers.
Great point.
Some of us were fighting to get in that by one game to get in the playoffs while other teams just were kind of, hey, look at me, I won by 2 points again. And that is nonsense. Judgment. Boston Beans, too much squeaking. Guilty. I don't want to hear this. You people talking about how bad the knuckleheads were losing games. I lost to the Boston Beans by 1 point. I would have had 7 wins. I don't want to hear any of this. Court is adjourned.
The people have spoke.
Those are fraud allegations there?
Well, I think we got him at B plus. I don't know if that took him down though, based on what the judge has said. We
might just need a different scale. Maybe not letter grades for Tony. Maybe just fraud or not fraud. And I think he's definitely in the fraud category this year.
Well,
binary code 0 or 1.
Yeah, I like it. Jordan's black and white. I love it. All right. Well, I think I went out of order. We got worst team ever that we need to talk about, and and just to tell the commission overall B plus, but this is going to generate a lot of debate.
All right.
So record, obviously, again, one of the better records, B plus. His moves number wise were kind of low, but I do think he made that trade with me. He was active. The Kyron Williams, really, do you need to make a lot of moves when you probably have the best pickup of the year?
Yeah, crazy.
But again, it's not as active as maybe you need to be. Because even though you got a good team, you got to keep planning for, worst case scenario. So I only gave him a B there. Points, good point total, B plus. Now comes the part that, is open for debate. I think all of us say, you got to knock him down a grade just for the Eeyore attitude, right? You can't be playing that year after year. You got to find a different.
I mean, look at the difference in attitudes between them and our current champs, Soarin Eagles.
Exactly.
Soarin Eagles called their shot in August, and worst team ever does tend to be dragged along in the attitude.
Soarin Eagles is never going to say, oh my God, my luck is so bad, whatever, But worst team ever, I don't know. Maybe that's what's keeping them. It's just attitude is keeping them from that first championship. So right then, the best he can do is a B. And I'm going to be kind because I do think intangibles, again, he managed his team, I thought, pretty well. He had a really good team. It passed the, as they say, the eyeball test. Intangibles, I gave him a B. And I think overall, I did like his team. I really thought he had a really good chance. So even though some of the grades don't quite add up, I still overall gave him a B plus. But I have a feeling I'm going to get a little criticism here on such a high grade for worst team ever.
I wish I had a graphic for Unleash the Hounds. Champ, B plus for worst team ever. What do you think?
It's tough. I want to be consistent with how I'm talking about Tony. But so, if we take attitude out of it, I almost want to give worst team ever an A or an A minus. A great year, great pickups. Let's talk about Kamara. Let's talk about Kamara versus Cooper Kupp this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
because both of them did good when they came back. They were both out for the beginning of the year. But you have to get out to some wins early to take those risks on a suspended or an injured guy. And that's something that Ty was able to do, and Connor wasn't.
Great point.
So that's something I want to talk. I meant to talk about that when we were talking about Huey Lewis. But I think Ty had a great year. But, it's the attitude thing. That's going to knock you down. You got to believe in yourself. You're just going to talk it into existence. If you say you're going to lose, if you say your team stinks and injuries have killed you all the time, like, it's going to happen. Like, you're just speaking it into existence. B- for the attitude. And that's where I'll stand.
I remember he came down on the red carpet. We have that on video from a couple years ago with, I think he had a great tie and a lot of confidence. They calling his shot from the red carpet. Where'd that guy? We need that guy.
His confidence lasts about 10 seconds. As soon as some guy drops a pass or something like that, it's over. The confidence is
You
shot.
should have interviewed him after the draft.
Hey,
Like, I got injury-prone guys. Yeah.
He would be a house of glass if it comes to confidence.
Christian, B+, too high, too low.
So I have to say too high, and there's
Wow.
obviously the attitude part, which I've already talked about. But I talked about people leaving too much value on the bench, and I understand worst team ever has had some injuries. But if you look throughout the season, right, and so let's just assume everyone's healthy at this point. There's one spot. It's the wide receiver running back, and it's DeAndre Hopkins. You could fill that with Ken Walker, Zay Flowers, and Adam Thielen, who was like a top 5 wide receiver for like half the season, or Tony Pollard. You have like 4 players that would have slotted into some of the bottom 6 teams starting lineup. I think he could have had such a deadly roster if he just tried to get rid of some of that value. I think that this was I thought he had the scariest team going to the playoffs. I thought, even though I beat him, I still thought he did. And I think if he made some moves during the season, he could have actually had.
I want to add to that. I think that's a really good point because I think maybe that's the overall mentality of worst team ever. They play out of fear. And if
That's why.
So he doesn't trade because he assumes the other shoe's going to fall off when it comes to injuries.
Yeah,
and
maybe.
Christian's right.
Yeah, Christian's got a good point.
You can't win a BARFF championship in fear.
Yeah.
You got to go on the offensive.
I agree. All right, Kyle, you've heard from the championship participants. What do you think about worst team ever's performance this year? B+?
All right. Where do I begin here? I will say, I will start off before worst team ever starts punching his pillow right now. I think B+ is fair. I will say that. He has that team. You look at it, you're like, wow, this team could put up like 150 against me. It is like a scary looking team. But similar to what people were saying, he did have 3 quarterbacks rostered for multiple weeks, and there was multiple teams looking for quarterbacks. Like, he could have got value out of Purdy, Sam Howell, or Lawrence, and he just didn't move them. Like, you're never going to start 3 quarterbacks. And then again, he'll tell you that he got Mark Andrews, he got
Kyle, we're losing you too. Is this me? We are in the cellar.
We are in the cellar. We're bunkered.
No, we look good. Holding the phone up to the sky. Got it on Wi-Fi call. Kyle, we lost you completely. Sorry. Nope. Well, wait. I might have just lost the call. Hold on. All right. So that's not good.
Maybe his tinfoil hat fell off.
All right, Kyle, you may be the only one left on the line. Sorry, we lost you reception-wise. I hope that the others will call back. There we go.
There we go.
Christian back. So, Kyle, please, we lost you midway there. Keep going with what you were saying for worst team ever.
Wait, can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
There you
perfect.
are.
No.
Yes.
What was the last point I made here? Because I was on a heater there. I was on a roll.
Well, that's the hard to remember because you were throwing a lot of stuff out there. No, I think you said about the Sam Howell. The last thing I heard clearly were the quarterbacks you were saying that he could have got rid of. And?
Wait, can you guys hear me right now?
Yeah,
I
okay,
think-
yeah.
We got you. Perfect.
Okay. And then, like I said, classic Eeyore fashion. He's talking about Mark Andrews, 10% injuries, but like he fails to mention that he got Adam Thielen for free, who put up like over 20 points a week, and Kyron Williams off the waiver wire. So he made a lot of his team off the waiver wire. So you kind of got to look at the positives when you also look at the negatives, which I know he's kind of sometimes incapable of. But
I don't know what's happening here. Yeah. Sorry, Kyle, we lost you again. I don't know why this would be changing. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry. How about, Christian or Jordan, can you guys hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. I got kicked off for a minute, but I'm back.
Okay.
All right. Well,
All right.
Well, just in the nick of time.
Yes. All right. So where are we going now, Walt?
Okay. Well, and keep it in order. We'll do no lineup.
All right. No lineup needed. Go ahead.
Okay. Record, obviously, you get one of the two teams that made championship, A. Moves. Christian did a really masterful job of kind of orchestrating some trades. A- there. Point total, like through the roof. Highest point total of anyone in the league. A. Intangibles. Again, Christian, he's just working so hard to get that first championship. I mean, he had a 6-game winning streak at the end. It's just tough to knock him for saying anything negative there, other than, Christian, 2 years in a row, you haven't got it done. So that's a negative. I give you A- just for that reason. And that's what the overall grade's got to be, A-. When you get it done, Christian, you got A's all day long. But it's A- for right now.
All right. So we've got an A- up on the board. Well, we're going to get it on the board for no lineup. No lineup is currently our only caller. And so I'm going to go to you, Christian. You got an A- from Walt. What do you think of that grade for this season?
I agree. I think I did pretty well. I think my decision making was good throughout the year of making moves and plugging the right guy. But again, I couldn't get it done, as Walt said. I think I've been
I think they're trying to contact us via Morse code now.
Oh no! That was on me. That was totally. I'm trying to do too many things at once here.
The multitasking.
Yeah, hold on. Jordan, you can hear us, right? You're up. Jordan. No, all right. We lost all that. I think I just flat out got that call with Christian. That was too bad. He's got to call back. So we've got an A- on the board for no lineup. And what I'll say for no lineup, while we hope that the callers come back, is that this was a team that was a classic good. There's Soarin Eagles are back on the line. So Christian was a classic team that had a little bit of trouble early and made some great. Made great corrections to the point where he got to the top of the standings.
Mm-hmm. No doubt.
Jordan, we had Christian weighing in on his grade of A-, which is up on the board. Hold on, then let me get him back without screwing this up. So, Christian, you're back, and what I had just said earlier, you've got an A- on the board. I think that you had a really great comeback this season from some early struggles. So go ahead and tell us, keep going with what you feel about this A- grade.
Yeah, I feel it's right. I think I need to get it done in the championship. Honestly, I start two different players. I could have two right now. Sort of like maximizing my trade value. I think I was probably one of the most annoying people trading this year. I think I talked to every single person about when if they were willing to move people. But my initial thought was to move Mahomes and Kelsey because I had Justin Fields and DJ Moore, and then Justin Fields got hurt, so I decided not to. I should have probably kept doing it with that thought because if I moved them after those good weeks, I think I definitely would have had a championship-winning team. But yeah, I think that's right. I think I just need to win one to get the A+.
Yeah, I can't.
Like I said, you got to get it done, and that's what it's about.
Can't argue with that. Jordan, this was your opponent this year, and A- is on the board. What do you think about no lineup's performance this year?
Yeah, I agree with A-. The last few years of no lineup, I was looking at the history the other day. Just 3 straight years of really successful teams, and I think that's down to the draft strategy and the research. I think I see when I look at the waiver wire reports coming out every week, and I see some guys that Christian picks up, and I'm like, that's some advanced statistics digging. I've heard of that guy. I know he's being talked about in the forums. I know no lineup needed is doing his research. and I think it's showing. And I think A- is appropriate. I think maybe like a top 5 running back away from a championship this year.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I gotta say, and we don't have Sotie on the line anymore, unfortunately. But you know that we talked about the analysis that's been going on, and we see it on the pod. We get the benefit of that when the lineup stops in on the pod and calls in, and the depth, you can tell that the research is being
spending
done,
the time,
and there is time being spent, and it is showing 2 championship game appearances in a row. You can't argue with that.
Yeah,
success.
I mean, 2 champions lost by a total of what, like 15 points combined? Yeah, that's.
Yep.
I appreciate it.
All right, so that leaves us with 1 left.
Yeah, just the Soarin' Eagles.
The Soarin' Eagles.
So there's, and you know, if you win the league, you got to get an A. However, you're going to see some of the grades might not add up to an A. So let's begin. Record, obviously, if you win the league, although you were tied with other teams 9-5, you get an A. Moves, Jordan was active. I mean, another person, bean counter. He's on the dark web. He's researching guys. He's making moves. The Eagles get an A there as well. Point total was a really nice point total as well. 17-28. If I think that was second. Yeah, only behind Christian. Tough to knock that. That's an A- all day long there. And now intangibles. Here's where I'm going off the rails a little.
Oh, no.
I mean, I'm going to say Jordan did everything he could to potentially screw himself with his, I still to this day, and it worked out, but trading Josh Allen for a guy that ended up winning it, so it's hard to argue it worked out, but at the time, I had no idea. I thought he blew a gasket. You were gonna get a call saying you had to pick him up at some psych ward, he overanalyzed, something went haywire, wires got crossed, I don't know what the hell happened. So I gotta knock him down for that. But I give him credit because he took the hits, the criticism, he kind of managed it.
Yeah.
And it's funny too because you think, oh well, I threw him a lifeline with C.J. Stroud, whatever. C.J. really, he was average in the championship game. Didn't really do much.
Yep.
Like I said, somehow Jonathan Taylor worked out right for one game. But I think, but I think what the Eagles did really well was who they started, their lineups choices. I think were really, really solid. And ultimately, to me, that's what did it for him. He managed his team really well, through the whole season. So for the knucklehead move of trading Josh Allen, it goes down to B+. But overall, it's an A because, again, this is a results-oriented league.
It is.
You win the championship. How can you not be an A?
You get that golden toilet seat, you're an A.
Exactly.
All right, I'm going to start with Christian this time. Soarin' Eagles has an A on the board. What do you think?
I think the Soarin' Eagles did great. I mean, I do think we have to talk about the fact that, he got saved the final week of the regular season. One, I don't know who lost and who won, but he got the second seed because of that. Because if not, I think he put up 60 points the next week with his main lineup.
Oh yeah,
so this is a completely different scenario. But that doesn't focus in. I think an A or an A+ is very much so worth it. Outside of I was also critical of the trades, but I mean I lost to him. I can't really be critical at this point. So I mean, great season. That's all I can say at this juncture.
Yeah, Jordan, your season. Tell us how you felt it went overall as you sit here on the top of the heap for 2023 season.
Oh, I'm gonna try.
No, don't lose your audio now. There you go. All right.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Now we
got you. Okay. So that's the truth. I gotta say, my team needed rest. They worked hard. The injuries hit me, and I'll tell you what the situation was. I needed Tony to lose, which he did by 2 points because Saquon had a good game in a game that the Giants got blown out in.
You're welcome.
And I also needed to get ahead on point 4, which Tyreek Hill was playing as a decoy, didn't get any points in the first half, but then still managed to get 10 points in the second half from some downfield passes. So I definitely look out there. If that doesn't happen, I lose first round. Easy. I didn't have the roster. I couldn't have done anything. I could have tried to pick up some crazy waiver guys. There's just no chance. So I got saved there. But you gotta get lucky a little bit in fantasy football. We'll talk about the trades a little bit because there's always controversy around the trades. Gifted Jonathan Taylor to the final game, and then now we're talking about like I almost ruined my season with the trade. So I there's always different opinions. I don't take any stock in them. I'm always trying to improve my team. It's not a slot machine based on who you draft. It's more of a game of poker based on making moves during the season. Consistent wide receivers in Tyreek and Amon-Ra, so I wanted to get sort of an up and down quarterback off my team, and Josh Allen was a guy who could throw 4 picks in the championship game, and I went with sort of a safer option. So a lot of in-season management. All these moves were thought out ahead of time. They didn't all have to work out because it is a game of chance, but you just you put yourself in a position. Sometimes it happens. I think that's what happened to me this year.
All right, yeah,
tough to argue that. That's a good.
That is hard.
Absolutely.
Yep, that was a pretty amazing performance overall. No one can argue when you have the golden toilet seat.
Mm-hmm.
That is the number one sign of success in BARFF is that for sure. And so that is grades for the 2023 season. And then let me take us out of the classroom, if I can, and back to the studio. If I can get a couple of things to go right. And here we are. And we're back, although it's going to play the damn intro again. All right. So, Walt, overall impressions of this year.
Just a great season again.
Hi.
I mean, honestly, very
Barf.
competitive. The draft coming out, I thought
that's my
everybody
name.
had a
Barf.
shot at winning the golden toilet
you?
seat. And again, it just amazed me the level of compete overall from everybody. It's one of my favorite leagues because of that. No matter if you're not doing well, people are still hanging in there and they're not just trying to phone it in, which I love. So yeah. I just think just an awesome year, and congrats to the Eagles and no lineup for really good championship game.
Yeah, I agree. Christian, another great season. Thank you for your contributions to the pod this year, both in person and on the line. It was really great. Before we get too deep into that, I just want to keep up with the chat. Sox fan weighed in that they thought the Pantloads deserved an A++. And of course, in the final show of the season, I certainly wanted to hear from Sox fan 7687, and we did. But Christian, you had great contributions. Your final thoughts during the season finale of this year in BARFF? Or we don't have Christian.
Accidentally muted myself there. Sorry about that.
You're fit right in.
Thanks for having me on and allowing me to speak on the pod. I'm already looking forward to draft season of next year. Just another to throw my darts at of how many points I lose by. So hopefully next year will be different and I can actually get a tattoo of the golden toilet seat on me.
I have to say, one of the things that's the most disappointing, and that has nothing to do against the Soarin Eagles winning the championship, but one of the things that we wanted to do before this show was have every owner submit a version of the tattoo that Christian should get, and we were going to show them on the air. So we'll hold you to that next year, Christian.
Absolutely. Whenever it happens, I've been close, so hopefully it's just around the corner.
Yeah, I hope so too. Jordan, you are the champs. You are the reigning champ. Thoughts on this season and anything that you as champ would like to put forward for next season? We're going to talk a little bit about proposed rule changes in a second, but how did you feel 2023 went, and where do you think this league's going to go?
First of all, God, it feels good. Man, it's been 14 years. Other people have been experiencing this. I don't know how you deal with it without freaking out. I've been having a great time this week. Just feels like everything's right in the universe for once. My only message, I think this year was great. Obviously, I love waiver wire, the budget. It adds to the competitiveness. It adds another layer, and I think we're all so bought in, and it makes it so fun.
Yep.
And I think the waiver wire fob might usher in a new era of BARFF. Like, I think it just brought the compete level up that one more step where you have to be on top of things, even more than you were before. And this is the most elite fantasy football league in the world. So I'm excited. Can't wait for next year, and gonna have to try to stay off my phone and not worry about the draft for another 6 months or so.
Yeah, this is again, this is a celebration show, but it's also bittersweet because this is the longest, coldest night of the year because we have the longest between now and the draft.
It's actually they should rechange to winter solstice to the last day and we do the podcast because that's how it feels.
Walt, what do you think? 2023, what a hell of a year.
It was a great year, and I think Jordan summed it up very well. I had forgotten about the addition of the bidding, and it did. It brought it up another, level of compete for sure.
Yeah, Christian, you had brought up a rule change last time. What was it? Christian?
Hello?
There you are.
Okay, we can hear everyone now.
Oh my God, Jordan and I were having the conversation there ourselves.
Yeah, I don't understand what is happening. It could very well be my phone being down here in the bunker. But Christian, we're going to talk briefly about rule changes for next year. You had brought some up last week. What were those?
Yeah, so I think we should go to decimal scoring just to make it hurt or feel even better. Every week we should have decimal scoring. I think it's just time to bring it to the modern age. I think every other league I'm in does it. Not that it's a downside.
Yeah.
But and then make the running back wide receiver spot into a true flex in case you end up with somehow 2 good tight ends on your team that you want to play. Okay. So that was my 2.
All right, we'll have to put those. We'll definitely have to put those to a vote. The true flex thing, I'm hot and cold on. The decimal scoring thing, I think
that's
probably,
a no-brainer.
Yeah,
I think that'll pass flying colors.
Yeah, Jordan, anything you'd like to see moving forward?
I concur with decimal scoring. I also agree with the true flex. I do think we go back into some of the controversy this year. I do think trades should clear immediately. I agree that we shouldn't have changed how the program works this year because that's just how it was. It's how we started the year.
Yeah.
But I think going forward in the future, it's good to have things clear immediately. You never know what's going to happen during the week. Things happen fast in this league, so I think that's a good move. I don't have anything else. I do think that we have to come up with a good last place punishment. I would love to see the teams at the bottom fighting to not have something. To not get that punishment. I don't know.
Literally fight in a last man steel cage, or you're talking about?
I'm all right with that. Yeah, I'm okay with that. I want some clarity on how you end up in last place. I just want that.
Well, my rule change vote is ESPN standings are determined last place.
They have to. We kind of have to do that. And so
I don't know
ready.
If I agree with that.
I'm ready.
But,
I'll get in the cage. I'm ready. But I just don't understand. I'm not gonna understand. I'm gonna spend this entire off season trying to figure out how this happened. But what an amazing season. Thanks, guys. We really appreciate your feedback. This was the longest pod of the year, and I hope it gets the most views.
Maybe we'll get to 11.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we've had some that have suspiciously had fewer views than we have owners, but that's life. So that is it for the 2023 season. Walt, you were a soldier of the show this year. Much travel, basically 6-hour round trips that BTR was doing to come into the studio. So
the travel of joy.
Much.
Yeah, no problem.
That was amazing.
I'm doing it again next year.
All right. For those of you that are watching or just listening to it, I hope that we get more participation. We're going to have to come up with some different bits for the podcast if we do it again next year. And that is it. Congrats to the Soarin Eagles. And that's the show.
See everyone at the draft next year.
Take care, everyone.